Have you ever wondered how someone can disappear without a trace, only for that mystery to unravel into something far darker than anyone could have imagined? Welcome back to Crime Time Case, where we dive into shocking mysteries and chilling criminal cases. If you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button to stay updated on all our videos. Today, we're diving into the tragic disappearance of 25-year-old Kevin Bacon, a young man whose life ended in a way too horrifying to believe. Let's jump right into it. Our story begins on Christmas Eve, 2019, when Kevin Bacon, a bright, friendly, and outgoing young hairstylist from Michigan, left his apartment for what seemed like a typical night out. Kevin loved meeting people and often used dating apps to connect with others. This time he was especially excited. He had been chatting with a new guy on Grindr, and they had decided to meet up. Kevin mentioned to his roommate that he would be out for the evening but planned to return later. Around 5:15 p.m., he texted his roommate to let him know he was on his way. But from there, everything would take a dark turn. Kevin's friends and family grew increasingly worried as the hours passed with no word from him. He was known to stay in touch, always letting loved ones know where he was and what he was up to. But now, there was only silence. Christmas morning came and went with no sign of him, and his family's concern deepened as every call and message went unanswered. Kevin's social media accounts were also inactive, something unusual for him. Kevin's roommate began retracing his steps, talking to friends, neighbors, and anyone who might have seen or heard from him. But no one knew where he had gone after leaving his apartment that night. It was as if Kevin had vanished into thin air, and the police were just as baffled as his loved ones. In the days following Kevin's disappearance, the police became actively involved. They began reviewing surveillance footage from Kevin's apartment building, hoping to catch a glimpse of him leaving that night. And sure enough, they saw Kevin walking out and getting into his car. At first, nothing seemed amiss. He was simply on his way to meet someone. But after leaving, there were no more sightings of Kevin on any local security cameras. He had driven off, and his car seemingly disappeared with him. Days turned into a week, and the sense of urgency grew. Kevin's friends and family were desperate for answers, putting up missing person flyers, contacting anyone they thought might have seen him, and using social media to spread the word. But still, there were no leads. Then, on December 28th, 4 days after Kevin had last been seen, police made a grim discovery. Kevin's car was found parked along a quiet stretch of Seymour Miller Road, a remote area miles away from his home. Inside the car, the police found his wallet, phone, and an overnight bag with some clothes, suggesting he might have planned to stay somewhere. But the car keys were missing, and there were no signs of a struggle. The car's condition only added to the mystery. Why would Kevin leave his car abandoned in such an isolated spot? The police began looking into Kevin's recent interactions, and soon, one particular name stood out: Mark Latunsky, a man Kevin had been communicating with on Grindr just before he vanished. Latunsky lived in Shiawassee County, Michigan, and as police dug deeper into his background, they discovered a disturbing history. Mark Latunsky was born in 1969 and had earned a master's degree in chemistry from Central Michigan University, but he struggled with severe mental health issues, including schizophrenia and depression, and had a long history of strange and violent behavior. His first wife left him due to his violent tendencies, and his second marriage ended for similar reasons. Latunsky had also made bizarre 911 calls in the past, including one where he claimed to have killed himself. Over the years, his mental state seemed to worsen, leading him to isolate himself from society, where he indulged in increasingly dark fantasies. With enough evidence pointing to Latunsky, the police obtained a search warrant for his residence. On December 28th, they entered Latunsky's home, where they were met with a scene more horrifying than anyone could have imagined. Inside, they uncovered a setup that revealed the disturbing reality of Latunsky's life. The walls of his home bore evidence of violent fantasies he had acted out, and in one of the most shocking discoveries, they found video recordings of Latunsky luring men to his home, where he would torture them for his own sadistic pleasure. As the investigation unfolded, police discovered that Kevin Bacon had been Latunsky's latest victim, lured to his home under the pretense of a date. Kevin had unknowingly walked into a nightmare, becoming the target of a man with deeply rooted violent and sadistic tendencies. The news of Kevin's fate sent shockwaves through his community, especially among his friends and family who had held out hope for his safe return. Kevin's parents, Carl and Pamela Bacon, were devastated. They described him as a kind-hearted and adventurous young man who had been taken from them too soon. Friends, co-workers, and even strangers were deeply affected by the horror of his death, turning their sorrow into action by raising awareness about the risks of online dating and the dangers that can arise from meeting strangers. On January 6, 2020, Mark Latunsky was arrested and formally charged with the abduction and murder of Kevin Bacon, along with abuse and other related crimes. During questioning, Latunsky was disturbingly calm, showing little remorse or emotion for what he had done. He initially denied involvement, but the overwhelming evidence left no room for doubt. Kevin had been lured into a deadly trap, targeted by a man who had hidden his violent intentions behind a dating profile. As the case progressed to trial in the fall of 2020, shocking evidence was presented in court. The prosecution showed video footage Latunsky had taken of his crimes, chilling the courtroom with the raw brutality of his actions. The defense argued that Latunsky's mental illnesses, particularly his schizophrenia, diminished his responsibility, claiming that he was not in full control of his actions. However, the prosecution emphasized the calculated nature of his crimes, portraying Latunsky as a man who knew exactly what he was doing. During the trial, families of Latunsky's victims, including Kevin's parents, shared emotional statements about the pain they had endured. The court was left to grapple with the question of Latunsky's mental state and whether it truly affected his responsibility, but the sheer premeditation of his actions led the jury to conclude that he was fully accountable for his crimes. On December 1, 2020, Latunsky was found guilty on all counts and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, ensuring he would never again be a threat to anyone. As he was led out of the courtroom, his calm and detached demeanor left an unsettling reminder of his cold nature. But for Kevin's family, friends, and supporters, the verdict brought some closure, though it could never undo the loss and pain. Kevin's story has left a lasting impact not only on those who knew and loved him, but also on everyone who followed his case. It served as a powerful reminder of the dangers that can lurk in the world of online dating, emphasizing the importance of caution when meeting strangers. His family, determined to honor his memory, has since worked to raise awareness about the risks of dating apps, especially for vulnerable young people who might not realize the dangers they could be stepping into. Kevin Bacon was a bright light extinguished too soon, but his story continues to serve as a warning and a call to action. His tragic death reminds us to be vigilant and careful, for not everyone we meet has the best intentions. If Kevin's story moved you, please consider sharing it to help raise awareness about the hidden dangers of online interactions. Thank you for watching Crime Time Case, and if you haven't already, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more true crime stories. Stay safe out there, and remember, things are not always as they seem.